Okay. Good morning, students. Today we have lecture number 12, lecture number 13, lecture number 13 on electric potential and capacitance. In the previous lecture, lecture number 12, we have studied about the dielectrics and polarization. We have studied about the dielectric and polarization. By using the previous concept only, some more extra things I will tell. Okay. In the previous class, we have studied that when a dielectric is placed in between the two charged plates, when a dielectric medium is placed in between the two charged plates, the electric field decreases. The electric field decreases. So that is consider two charged metal plates having surface charge density plus sigma and minus sigma. So the applied electric field, that is E naught is in this direction. And now when the air or vacuum is there, E naught is the electric field intensity. So now when a dielectric is placed, when a dielectric of medium of dielectric constant K, when a dielectric medium of dielectric constant K is placed in between this charged plates, the dielectric gets polarized. That polarized means each atoms or molecules of the dielectric align in the direction of external electric field. The atoms or molecules of a dielectric align in the direction of external electric field. As a result of that, a net induced charge is created on the surface of the dielectric. A fixed charge is created on one surface of the dielectric and another fixed charge minus is created on another surface of the dielectric. Let QP be the charge on the surface of the dielectric, that is induced charge on the surface of the dielectric or charge on the polarized dielectric, and sigma P be the QP be the charge on the polarized dielectric and sigma P be the surface charge density of induced charge, and surface charge density of polarized dielectric, and we know that the net electric field, net or reduced value of electric field inside the dielectric. The net value of electric field in the dielectric is given by E is equal to E naught minus EP, where EP is the induced electric field. Due to the induced charges, a induced electric field is developed inside the dielectric, and that induced electric field is in a direction opposite to the direction of applied electric field. So therefore net value of electric field inside the dielectric is E is equal to E naught minus EP. Further, we know that E naught is given by sigma divided by epsilon naught, and EP can be done as sigma P divided by epsilon naught. E naught is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught, EP is equal to sigma P divided by epsilon naught, and the dielectric constant K is equal to E naught divided by E. So this you can write it as E divided by E naught divided by K. That is E is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught K. You can write E is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught K, where E is the reduced value of electric field. Thus, the net value of electric field inside the dielectric, is 1 by K times the applied electric field, due to the electric polarization. That is, due to the electric polarization in the dielectric, the electric field reduces, the net electric field inside the dielectric reduces, and the reduced value of electric field inside the dielectric is 1 by K times the applied electric field. This is happens due to the electrical polarization. That's all the things we have already studied. Now let us substitute these values. Let us substitute these values in the equation number 1. It is E is nothing but sigma divided by epsilon naught K is equal to E naught. E naught is sigma divided by epsilon naught minus EP, that is sigma P divided by epsilon naught. Epsilon naught will get cancelled. So you can write K is equal to sigma divided by sigma minus sigma P. So this is one relation, that is K is a dielectric constant. So dielectric constant in terms of charge densities, dielectric constant in terms of surface charge densities. So further you can write it as sigma P is equal to this equation. Sigma P is equal to sigma minus sigma divided by K, or sigma P is equal to sigma taking common. So it is K minus 1 divided by K. K minus 1 divided by K. This is expression for sigma P. Sigma P is nothing but that is surface charge density of polarized dielectric. Surface charge density of polarized dielectric or induced surface charge density. So now, since we know the value of K, the value of K is always greater than 1. That is, the dielectric constant of a dielectric medium will be greater than 1. So we can tell that sigma P will be less than sigma by using this formula. So you can tell, so K value is greater than 1. So sigma P will be less than sigma. That is, the induced surface charge density on the dielectric, that is surface charge density on the dielectric is less than the surface charge density on the plates. It is sigma P, it is surface charge density created on the dielectric will be less than the surface charge density on the parallel plates. Got the idea? So that means the surface charge density on the polarized dielectric is less than the surface charge density on the plates. Okay, this is if dielectric is placed. Okay, if instead of dielectric, let us study, if instead of dielectric a conductor is placed, between charged plates, then what happens? See here, if instead of dielectric, let us remove this dielectric and a conductor is placed. A conductor is placed in between the charged plates. Then what happens? Then we know that a conductor is consist of a large number of free charges. So the net electric field intensity in the interior of the conductor, is 0. That is, E value becomes 0. If it is a conductor, E value becomes 0 because the net electric field intensity, that is the value of EP, is equal to E naught. Inside the conductor, the value of induced electric field is equal to the external electric field. So that is EP is equal to E naught, that is sigma P is equal to sigma, that is surface charge density on the conductor is equal to the surface charge density on the plates if it is a conductor. These all are the things we can understand from the previous concept only. So these all are the things we have studied in the previous classes indirectly. Now I am clearing these things we have already studied. I substituted and made some mathematical changes and I got these relations. And this is the expression for dielectric constant in terms of surface charge density. This is the expression for surface charge density of polarized dielectric, and this is the result, that is sigma P is less than sigma. Okay. So now further, so we know that the dipole gets polarized, right? The polarization vector, that is vector P. The polarization vector is defined as the dipole moment per unit volume of dielectric. The dipole moment per unit volume of dielectric. That is, we have already defined. The polarization vector is defined as the dipole moment per unit volume. So now a dielectric has a charge QP and let x be the thickness or length of the dielectric. Let x be the thickness or length of the dielectric. Then a dipole moment of dielectric. Then this dielectric can be considered to be a dipole. can be assumed to be a dipole because it is made up of large number of small dipoles. These all are dipoles. When an external electric field is applied, these all are induced electric dipoles, and this entire dielectric can be considered, can be assumed to be a dipole. So dipole moment, the dipole moment of dielectric, the dipole moment of dielectric is given by charge into distance between the charge. Distance between the charge we have taken it as x, and charge can be done as sigma p into A, because sigma p is the surface charge density of the induced charge. Surface charge density of the induced charge is equal to induced charge divided by area, where A is the area of the dielectric. A is the area of the dielectric, and dipole moment, that is sigma p into A into x. So A into x is nothing but volume, that is area into length, can be done as volume. So you can write this formula as, it is dipole moment, dipole moment of dielectric. Dipole moment of dielectric is equal to, dipole moment of dielectric is equal to sigma p into V, sigma p into V. So therefore the polarization vector, therefore the polarization vector is equal to dipole moment divided by volume. Dipole moment of dielectric, that is sigma p into V divided by volume of the dielectric is V. So now V cancel. So polarization vector is numerically equal to the surface charge density. Polarization vector is numerically equal to the induced surface charge density or surface charge density of the polarized dielectric. The polarized vector, polarization vector is, can also be numerically equal to the surface charge density of polarized vector. Understood? Okay. So now, so further we have also studied that a dielectric consists of large number of molecules or atoms. Let n be the, just for your understanding I am writing all these formulas. Let n be the number of atoms or molecules per unit volume of dipole. Let n be the number of atoms or molecules per unit volume of dipole, and P is the dipole moment of each atom. Dipole moment of each atom. See, in a linear isotropic dielectric, the dipole moment of each atom or molecule will be same. In a linear isotropic dielectric, in the previous class I told, linear isotropic dielectric, the dipole moment of each atom or molecule will be same. The dipole moment of each atom or molecule will be same. So P is the dipole moment of each atom or molecule, and N is the number of atoms or molecules per unit volume of dielectric. N is the number of atoms or molecules of unit volume of dielectric. Then the polarization vector, of the dielectric is, can be done as N into P. N into P, where P is the dipole moment of each atom or molecule. P is the dipole moment of each atom or molecule, and N is the number of molecule or atoms present in a dipole, and vector P is the polarization vector. Understood? And you can tell the polarization vector, the SI unit and dimension of polarization vector. The unit of polarization vector is, that is polarization vector is equal to dipole moment per unit volume, and the unit of dipole moment is coulomb meter, and the unit of volume is meter cube. So therefore the unit of polarization vector is coulomb per meter square. The unit of polarization vector is coulomb per meter square. Further, we know that the polarization of a dipole, the polarization of a electric dielectric, the polarization of a dielectric is directly proportional to, that is the polarization of a dielectric is proportional to the reduced value of electric field. The polarization of a dielectric is proportional to the reduced value of electric field. that is vector P proportional to epsilon naught vector E. Vector E is reduced value of electric field or net value of electric field. So you can write it as vector P is equal to chi epsilon naught into vector E. Chi epsilon naught vector E, where chi is called electric susceptibility. That is polarization of a dielectric is given by psi epsilon naught E. And psi is equal to vector P divided by epsilon naught E, and psi is unitless and dimensionless. Psi is unitless or dimensionless. Psi is unitless or dimensionless. And this is the relation for polarization of a dielectric. So now let us derive the relation. Let us derive the relation between electrical susceptibility and dielectric constant. Let us see the relation between electrical susceptibility and dielectric constant. What will be the relation between electrical susceptibility and dielectric constant? It is a relation between K and psi. Relation between K and psi. So we know that E is equal to, that is reduced value of electric field or net electric field inside the dielectric is equal to E naught minus EP, right? E naught can be done as that is E naught only, and EP can be done as that is sigma P divided by epsilon naught EP, that is induced electric field. Induced electric field sigma P divided by epsilon naught, and sigma P is nothing but dipole polarization of dielectric. So therefore E is equal to E naught minus vector P divided by epsilon naught, and vector P is equal to psi epsilon naught E. So therefore E is E naught minus psi epsilon naught E divided by epsilon naught, and epsilon naught cancel. So E is equal to E naught minus psi into E. So now take E naught is equal to, further here you can write it as E naught is equal to E minus psi into E. And E is taken common, you will get 1 minus psi. So now E naught divided by E is equal to, take this E this side, E naught divided by E is equal to 1 minus psi, and E naught divided by E is nothing but dielectric constant. So therefore K is equal to 1 minus psi. So this is the relation between dielectric constant and electrical susceptibility, where K is called dielectric constant because E naught divided by E is nothing but dielectric constant. So dielectric constant K is equal to 1 minus psi. Psi is called electrical susceptibility. That is the relation between dielectric constant and electrical susceptibility. So all these things will understand from the previously learnt concepts only. Okay. So now further, so we know that when an external electric field is applied, to a dielectric, the dielectric gets polarized. That is, each molecules or atoms will experience a force, so positive charge and negative charge get separated. Okay. So now what happens if large amount of electric field is applied? If the external electric field applied is very large. Now let us understand what happens if a very large value of external electric field is applied. When external electric field applied is very large, when a very large value of external electric field is applied, then the dielectric will loses its property, dielectric property. See here, when an external electric field applied is very large, the positive charge and negative charge will experience a force. That force is not balanced by the internal force, internal restoring force. As a result, the dielectric breakdown takes place. And the electrons and ions, the electrons and positive ions are created. The electrons and positive ions are created inside the dielectric, and these electrons and positive ions will conduct the electricity through the dielectric. That means a dielectric becomes a conductor. A dielectric becomes a conductor. Listen to my explanation carefully. When a very high electric field, very large, it's not ordinary electric field, very high electric field is applied, high intense electric field is applied, then the molecules or atoms inside the dielectric will experience a large value of force, and that force is not balanced by the restoring force present in the atoms, internal restoring present in the atoms or molecules. So as a result of that, the electrons and ions are created. The electrons and ions are, positive ions are created inside the dielectric. That is, dielectric breakdown occurs, and these electrons and positive ions will conduct the electricity. That means the dielectric becomes a conductor. Dielectric nothing but a insulator. A dielectric is nothing but a insulator, and a insulator becomes a conductor. A insulator becomes a conductor when a large value of electric field is applied, and that large value of electric field applied, we can call it as dielectric strength. We can call that concept as dielectric strength. So what is dielectric strength? Let us understand. What is dielectric strength? Dielectric strength of a dielectric. The dielectric strength of a dielectric is the maximum value of electric field. The dielectric strength of a dielectric is the maximum value of electric field that can be applied. The maximum value of electric field that can be applied without electric breakdown, without dielectric breakdown. See here, I am telling the definition, I am making a definition for dielectric strength. The dielectric strength of a dielectric is defined as the maximum value of electric field. The dielectric strength of a dielectric is defined as the maximum value of electric field that can be applied to a dielectric without dielectric breakdown, without its dielectric breakdown. The maximum value of electric field applied to a dielectric without its dielectric breakdown is called as dielectric strength of the dielectric. The dielectric strength of a dielectric is nothing but the maximum value of electric field that can be applied without dielectric breakdown, without the dielectric breakdown of dielectric medium. So now that is, you can write the dielectric strength, E strength I will write. The dielectric strength of a medium is equal to V break divided by X. V break divided by X, where V break is the potential, maximum potential difference that can be applied to a dielectric. Maximum potential difference that can be applied to a dielectric without its dielectric breakdown, and X is the length or length of the dielectric. Understood? That is from the V is equal to dV by dx. So it is V break is the maximum value of potential difference that can be applied to a dielectric without its dielectric breakdown. Understood? So the dielectric strength, the SI unit and dimension of dielectric strength is same as that of electric field. The SI unit and dimension of dielectric strength is same as that of electric field. It is nothing but electric field only. It is nothing but electric field. That maximum value of electric field is applied to a dielectric without its electrical breakdown, without its dielectric breakdown. Understood? So now the practical unit of dielectric strength is kilovolt per millimeter. The practical unit of dielectric strength is kilovolt per millimeter. Remember this? The practical value of the practical unit of dielectric strength is kilovolt per millimeter. Understood? Okay. So now I will give the some values. For air medium, the dielectric strength of air medium is found to be 0.8 kilovolt per millimeter. The dielectric strength of air is 0.8 kilovolt per millimeter. The dielectric strength of mica is found to be 80 kilovolt per millimeter, 80 kilovolt per millimeter, and dielectric strength of paper is found to be 14 kilovolt per millimeter. So that means if if what does this means? 14 kilovolt per millimeter I will write. Okay. What does this means? This means if 14 kilovolt of potential difference, 14 kilovolt of potential difference is applied to 1 millimeter of paper. If a potential greater than 14 kilovolt, if a potential greater than 14 kilovolt is applied to a paper of 1 millimeter length, then it will lose its dielectric property. Then it will lose its dielectric property and paper will start to conduct. That is, paper will become a conductor. If for more than 14 kilovolt of potential difference is applied to 1 millimeter length of the paper. If for a 1 millimeter length of the paper, if you apply say 15 kilovolt per meter, 15 kilovolt per millimeter of potential is applied to a paper, then it will lose its dielectric property and then paper will start to conduct. Paper is an insulator, it will start to conduct. That is dielectric breakdown or dielectric strength. Understood? The dielectric strength is nothing but the maximum value of electric field that can be applied to a dielectric without its dielectric breakdown. Understood? So this is some values for dielectric, and the practical unit of dielectric strength is kilovolt per millimeter. Understand all this concept. So now one more concept I will write. One more concept I will explain. So now let us study another concept, electric displacement vector. Electric displacement vector. Electric displacement vector. So we know that E is equal to E naught minus EP. E is equal to E naught minus EP. So further you can write it as E is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught minus sigma P divided by epsilon naught. That is sigma minus sigma P divided by epsilon naught. Sigma minus sigma P divided by epsilon naught. So E is equal to, sigma minus sigma P divided by epsilon naught. This E can be done as vector E dot n cap. N cap is unit vector. N cap is unit vector, and a vector electric field is equal to sigma minus sigma P can be done as vector P dot n cap. This sigma P is equal to vector P, that is polarization vector. So the direction of polarization vector is n cap, like this. So vector P n cap divided by epsilon naught, divided by epsilon naught. So further epsilon naught vector E dot n cap, take this side, plus vector P n cap is equal to sigma, is equal to sigma. So you can write epsilon naught vector E plus vector P n cap is equal to sigma. N cap is equal to sigma. So this concept, that is epsilon naught. So let this epsilon naught vector E plus vector P is equal to D. So therefore you can write D n cap is equal to sigma, where this D is called electrical displacement vector. This D is called electrical displacement vector. That is how electricity displaces inside the dielectric. How electricity displaces inside the dielectric, that can be understood by understanding the value of D. That is electrical displacement vector in a dielectric. Vector D is nothing but electrical displacement vector in a dielectric. So that is when a dielectric breakdown takes place, that is when a dielectric strength, that is when a electric field greater than a dielectric strength is applied to a dielectric, then dielectric breakdown takes place. Then once the dielectric breakdown takes place, the electric field or electric charges will start to move inside the dielectric, and that motion can be understood by understanding the concept of D. That is, D is nothing but displacement vector, electric displacement vector in a dielectric. Understood? Okay. So this is electric displacement vector. Now let us study the next concept this chapter. So that is capacitance. Now we are going to start the capacitance. Capacitance. Okay. So now, so far we have understood about the charge. Okay. So now, to store the charge, how to store the charge? We want to store a large amount of charge on a device or on a plate, then that device used to store the charge is called a capacitor. And capacitance is the ability of a conductor to store the charge or energy. The ability of a conductor to store the charge or energy is called capacitance of a conductor. A conductor is there, and now when a charge is given to the conductor, the potential of the conductor rises. When a charge is given to the conductor, the electric potential of the conductor will rises. So as we go on giving more and more charge, the potential of the conductor will go on increasing. So more amount of charge is given, then more amount of potential is raised. But it is observed that the ratio of charge to the potential, will remain a constant for a given conductor. When a charge is given to a conductor, the potential of the conductor will increase, right? That is, Q is directly proportional to V. When charge is given to a conductor, the potential of the conductor will rises. That we already know. So as we go on giving more and more charge, more and more potential will increase us. But the ratio of charge to the potential is found to be a constant at any time or at any instant of potential. The ratio of charge to the potential is found to be a constant, and that constant we called as capacitance. That is Q is equal to C into V, or C is equal to Q divided by V, and this C is called as capacitance of a conductor. Thus, capacitance of a conductor is the ability of a conductor to store the charge. The ability of a conductor to store the charge or energy is called capacitance of a conductor. The capacitance of a conductor is defined as the ability of a conductor to store the charge. Understood? Or you can define also like this. The capacitance of a conductor is charge required to raise the potential of the conductor through 1 volt. The capacitance of a conductor is the amount of charge required to raise the potential of a conductor through 1 volt. So to raise the potential of the conductor through 1 volt, how much amount of charge is required? That you can call it as a capacitance. Okay. So now, what is the SI unit of capacitance? The SI unit of capacitance is coulomb. The charge, the unit for coulomb is, the unit for charge is coulomb. The unit for charge is coulomb, and the unit for potential is volt. So that is coulomb per volt, and this coulomb per volt is called as 1 farad. That is farad, after the scientist name Farad. That is Michael Farad. So the capacitance of a capacitor is measured in terms of farad. And now define 1 farad. Define unit farad, or define 1 farad. The capacitance of a conductor is said to be 1 farad. The capacitance of a conductor is said to be 1 farad if 1 coulomb of charge is required to raise its potential through 1 volt. If 1 coulomb of charge is required to raise the potential of a conductor through 1 volt, then the capacitance of that conductor is 1 farad. Understand the statement? Just I am making a definition. The capacitance of a conductor is said to be 1 farad if 1 coulomb of charge is required to raise its potential through 1 volt. To raise the potential of a conductor through 1 volt, 1 coulomb of charge is required. Then the capacitance of that conductor is said to be 1 farad. The capacitance of that conductor is said to be 1 farad. So 1 farad is the farad is the SI unit of capacitance, and other units of capacitance is microfarad. Microfarad, that is microfarad. That is a millifarad. Microfarad is nothing but 10 to the power minus 6 farad. 10 to the power minus 6 farad. And millifarad, that is 10 to the power minus 3 farad. And nanofarad, we will use these all are different units we will be using to measure the capacitance of a conductor. Understood? Okay. So now let us understand capacitor. Let us understand the concept of capacitor. So capacitor is a device used to store the charge. Capacitor is a device used to store the charge. It is a arrangement of two plates. It is a arrangement of two plates separated by a dielectric medium, separated by a non-conducting medium. It is capacitor is the arrangement of two plates. Arrangement of two conductors. You can say capacitor is the arrangement of two conductors. Arrangement of two conductors. A one conductor, another conductor. Arrangement of two conductors separated by a non-conducting medium. A arrangement of two conductors separated by a non-conducting medium. And it is used to store large amount of charge. Is used to store large amount of charge or energy. That arrangement we called as capacitor. Or in just capacitor is a device used to store the large amount of charge. Okay. So that is so the capacitor is a device. Depends, that is there are different types of capacitor depending upon the different shape and size of the plates. If the plates are parallel, then we call it as parallel plate capacitor. If the plates are cylindrical capacitor. If the plates are spherical capacitor. Like this we say different types of capacitors are there depending upon the different shape and size of the capacitor. Okay. So now the capacitance of a capacitor. The capacitance of a capacitor is given by C is equal to Q divided by V. And we know that the capacitance of a capacitor is Q divided by V. And Q divided by V depends, Q divided by V is always constant. That means the capacitance of a capacitor does not depend upon the value of charge or value of potential. The capacitance of a capacitor does not depends upon the value of charge or value of potential. That is, two plates will be there, two charged plates, and both will have same charge Q and Q. One is having positive charge and one is having a negative charge, and the potential difference between them is V. V is the potential difference between them. Then capacitance is defined as the charge on any one of the plate. Charge on any one of the plate divided by potential difference between the plates. Capacitance of a capacitor is defined as the ratio of charge on any one of the plates to the potential difference between the plates. And it is observed that it is you have to understand that the capacitance does not depends upon the charge and does not depends upon the potential, because charge to the potential will always remain a constant. If you increase the charge, the potential will also increase, so that this ratio becomes constant. So hence the capacitance of a capacitor does not depends upon the value of charge on the plates and does not depends upon the potential difference between the plates, but it depends upon the shape and size, that is geometry, shape and size of the plates. The capacitance of a capacitor depends upon the shape and size of the plates. That we will understand in the further classes. Okay. So capacitor is used to store the charges. Okay. So now what is the main area where this capacitor is used? The capacitors are used in electrical equipments like that is a TV. Capacitor is used in radios, TVs, and almost all the electrical equipments are made up of capacitor. Even the fan the fan will also have a capacitor. There will be inside the fan, there will be a white cylindrical shaped box. A white cylindrical shaped box will be there. So that is white color or some color it will have. So that if you look at the ceiling fan from the below, so now I can see, so you cannot see, but you can see at your home. So there will be a capacitor. So the capacitor is used in almost all the electrical devices. And what is the main function of the capacitor? Its function of the capacitor is to store the charges, that is to store the energy. And as well as the function of capacitor is to acquire large amount of charge, or absorb large amount of charge without any damage or without any problem. Without any problem, the capacitor can absorb large amount of charge, and also it can deliver, that is it can liberate large amount of charge at a time. It can deliver or it can liberate large amount of charge at a time, at a particular time. That is the main function. That is, the capacitor is mainly used to store large amount of charge and to release large amount of charge. To store large amount of charge and to release large amount of charge, the device used is a capacitor. Understood? Okay. So now let us understand capacitor of a conductor, just for our understanding. So let us consider a conductor, charged conductor. Let us consider a charged conductor, and the R be the radius of the conductor. R be the radius of the conductor, and Q be the charge uniformly distributed on the conductor. Let this charge is at the center of the conductor. Assume that this charge is at the center of the conductor, not required. A uniformly charged conductor. And now the potential, the electric potential, that is on the conductor, will remain constant everywhere. We know that electric potential on a conductor is constant everywhere, and electric potential of the conductor is given by V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R. The electric potential of the conductor, that is potential on the surface of the conductor, is V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q divided by R, and the capacitance of this conductor is given by C is equal to Q divided by V. Q is the amount of charge stored on the capacitor and V is the potential. So C is equal to Q divided by V. V is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R. And now Q get cancel. So you can write C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught into R. That is capacitance of a isolated conductor. This is only one conductor is there. Isolated conductor, only one conductor is there. If there is only one conductor, the capacitance of that conductor is C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught into R. That is, capacitance of that conductor is directly proportional to R. That depends upon the shape and size of the conductor. If the shape and size of the conductor is large, then capacitance of that conductor will be very, very large. Understood? If the shape and size of the conductor is large, then capacitance will be very, very large. So now I will give a homework. I'll give a homework. This is a homework. You only have to do. Calculate capacitance of earth. Calculate capacitance of earth. And in the first year you have studied the radius of the earth is 6,400 kilometer. The radius of the earth is 6,400 kilometer. So you only do this. Calculate the capacitance of the earth. Earth is an isolated sphere. It is an isolated sphere. Let us consider it an isolated sphere. Separate sphere, conducting sphere. A sphere. So the capacitance of the earth and the radius of the earth is 6,400 kilometer. So you can write this in terms of 6.4 into 10 to the power 6 meters. So you do the calculation, you will get. So simplification, you do epsilon naught value 8.854 into 10 to the power minus 12. Substitute C is equal to, for example, 4 pi into 8.854 into 10 to the power minus 12 into 6.4 into 10 to the power 6. So on simplification, you will get the value of this as 711 microfarad. 711 microfarad. See here, the capacitance of earth something 711 maybe microfarad. So microfarad, that is very small, not small. Actually 1 farad is a very large value. 1 farad capacitance means it is a very large value of capacity. 1 farad of capacitor means it's a very large value of capacity. So hence, so this understand this concept. So the smaller units of capacitance are used, that is microfarad, nanofarad and picofarad. Picofarad, that is 1 picofarad is equal to 10 to the power minus 12 farad. So like this we will be using different smaller units of capacitor, because 1 farad is a very large unit. Very large unit. Okay, let us hope you understood this introduction to capacitor. This is introduction to capacitor, and in the next classes we will study about more about the capacitors. So in the next classes we will study parallel plate capacitor and all the things. Okay.